A couple weeks ago, I took a trip down to San Diego to go meet a friend of mine who I used to play football with. He now goes to the University of San Diego, and so he got a new place, and I was just going to go down there and see how he was doing. Right when I walked in the door, it's my first time of being there, I got right when I walked in, just a huge whiff of marijuana smell just like pouring out the door. Apparently his friend is a big-time pot smoker and kind of had a card for it, so I guess it was legal for some chronic pain I guess he had. Probably just he had like sleep deprivation or something like that. And as I was in there, just kind of taking a look around the place, and I look out in the backyard, and there's no plants there or anything. As you can imagine, a guy's house, it's not really well decorated, so you can, the backyard had like a barbecue grill, and that was about it. But there's these two plants there in two pots, and they come up to about my shoulder, and I was looking right away. Like I recognized he had gotten seeds from the clinic to be able to grow his own marijuana plant, and they're getting tall. And then the guy looked at me and said, "Yeah, it's almost harvesting time too," so he was getting all excited about that. And by looking at that, I was just kind of looking, seeing it in its natural form. And I've never been someone who smoked weed, and I was looking at that, and I was wondering why do we not allow this to be legalized? I mean, it is something that is organic. It is something that is an herb, and also we do allow certain things that cause a lot of harm to our bodies to be used. And so I'm just going to kind of go over the two things that I can think of that most of us probably know that people do, and that's drinking and smoking tobacco, and just the effects that has. Tobacco, I know that we all know through the truth campaigns, all the negative effects that it does, so I'm not going to go over that too much. I'm also going to talk about, how easy it is to be able to get a medicinal card, and how little it does take, and how the system is kind of broken, and also some of the benefits that I found just from if we were to legalize it. First off, I'm going to talk about just some of the immediate marijuana effects. This is from www.well.com. It says that after smoking weed, you'll have a faster heartbeat and pulse rate. You'll have bloodshot eyes, dry mouth and throat. And so far, there's no scientific evidence that indicates that it improves hearing, eyesight, or skin sensitivity. It can also alter sense of time, so you may feel like 5 minutes has passed, or 5 hours have passed, but really it's been 5 minutes. You can't do things that require concentration, and also it shows that it has medicinal properties, including pain relief associated with many serious illnesses, and that's the reason why they do allow people with real pains to be able to go and get a card if the pain just doesn't ever let up. The two things, like I was saying earlier, that we do allow to be used today, even though they do have negative effects on the body, are alcohol and tobacco use. And go over the alcohol effects. I found this on www.drugfree.org. It's a parental website. It just talks about certain things that I guess people do or their kids will do that they want parents to know about. Alcohol is a controlled nervous system depressant. Too much drinking can lead to poisoning, alcoholism, coma, or even death, which I think usually just leads from alcohol poisoning if it's not taken care of. Once you drink, it's absorbed by the stomach, goes into the bloodstream, and eventually leads to all the tissues. Large amounts, which I'm not going to speak for everyone, but I'm sure if you've been to anything or you had anything to drink, too much can lead to slurred speech, disturbed sleep, nausea, or vomiting if too much has been taken in. Long usage, especially if you have a family that deals with alcoholism, it can lead to addiction and can lead to damage to vital organs such as the brain and the liver. And also, as we all know, drinking while pregnant is not a good idea. It can lead to mental retardation of the child or other birth defects. So obviously, drinking, even though if it's done in an appropriate way, can be fine, but it does have harmful effects on our body. But from there, I'm going to go on to just kind of dangerous tobacco use. Another thing that you can do once you're 18, you're legally allowed to do this. It accounts for 443,000 deaths. 1 in every 5 in the U.S. is related to tobacco use. That's more than HIV, illegal drug use, alcohol, or other murders. And this is from the Center for Disease Control and Prevention. 90% of deaths in this are in men and 80% in women. There's coronary heart disease in this by reducing circulation, by narrowing blood vessels. It has all kinds of cancers. They had a list of them. I just picked a few out. They included bladder, kidney, lung, and stomach. And other adverse health effects include infertility, preterm delivery, stillbirth, low birth weight, sudden infant death syndrome, and the list goes on. I think we all know that if you continue to use tobacco, that eventually it will have a large effect on your body. So, despite that, though, we do allow it, and we do allow people to do it. And once you're 21, you can drink as much as you want if you do it in a legal way, if you're not driving. And you can smoke as much tobacco as you want, even though it does have large effects on your body in a negative way. The other thing I want to go on to is, like I said, his friend did have a medicinal marijuana card, and the reason he gave was, I believe, sleep deprivation, which I believe when they first put this into act, they didn't think that people who just couldn't sleep were going to go out and start smoking weed. I think they were thinking about people who were kind of coming to near the end and were having extreme pain, and this is just a pain relief. I heard a story on NBCSanDiego.com. This is a news story, and it talked about a teacher who went to a reggae concert, and because for her excuses, she said that the kids kind of drove her up the wall, so smoking weed was something that she wanted to do to kind of get away from everything. She went to a reggae concert and was approached by a man who said, hey, do you want to be able to smoke weed legally? And she said, yeah, sure. She went in, they had actually a doctor on site there. Within a half hour after paying a fee, she was able to get a medicinal marijuana card that easy. From there, they went on to interview a doctor who recently lost his license. He was giving out marijuana cards, said he gave out about 10,000 cards. And he didn't give proper exams. Pretty much he would look at you. If you said this was hurting me, he could easily just write you off because he had a name and the card to be given out. They finally finished off the report with the reporter who's giving the story. She wanted to kind of show everyone how easy it was, and so what she did was she went into a clinic down in San Diego and said that she had trouble sleeping, and she had some kind of proof to show that she had trouble sleeping. It said it took 10 minutes for the doctor to observe her. She paid a $125 fee, and now she can smoke weed legally. So obviously the system that has been put into place isn't working anymore, and the dangers of marijuana can't be too bad if we're having doctors being able to just prescribe this out at the rampant rate that we are doing it. Well, we do have tobacco-related deaths, and we do have alcohol-related deaths all the time. Also, just kind of looking at some of the benefits, if we were to pass it, if they were to pass it, they would probably tax marijuana use like they do tobacco use, and by doing that, cities could opt to commercial sales, regulation, taxation. They said that it could have police go to more violent crimes, and I guess I had an uncle who just retired as a police officer for Fullerton, and he was telling me about how back in the 80s when you caught someone with marijuana, it was kind of a big deal, and now the issue isn't that big a deal anymore. They're looking for guys who have cocaine and have heroin on them. Marijuana is really not a big deal anymore to them. It can also stop drug dealers in the black market. So all in all, when you're looking at what we do allow people to use, marijuana really does not have a large effect that alcohol or tobacco does. And we see how broken the system has become. And so I believe that if we can let it work for us, we could probably gain some benefits from it.
So Karen, what did you think?
I think he had a really good introduction. At the beginning he seemed a little bit nervous. He had a really good eye contact. I like those statistics that he had, and I think he used really good his time. He didn't rush or anything.
Anything about you said you thought he had some good statistics. What did you think about the secondary arguments?
I think they were really good. They were really clear. like he knew what he was talking about and he like related the things really good.
Yeah, well, there are a few things that I thought, excuse me.